Hi, welcome back to the channel. Well, I've had a request to do a few different builds on the 9F. So that's what I'm going to do. This is actually the first one, which is simply one in Torino red, because they were available in red. I'll throw a picture on the screen now. And of course, it's a very easy and very effective colour to do. We'll get it back in the workshop and talk more. This car, of course, is based on the first generation of Audi R8, the one that came out in about 2006, was it? 7, something like that. And if you want to know more about the car, there is a very good Harry's Garage episode where he talks all about this car, and I watched it just before doing this, which was very handy for a few details. So there's not a lot to say about the builds. They're mainly colour related, but I want to point out just a couple of things as we go through versus the real life car. The only choices you get here are things like big splitters on the front or bigger diffusers on the back, all of which are not right anyway if you're building a standard car anyway. And I mean, one of the ethoses of this car was the lovely sort of smooth shape. Even the spoiler on most models was retractable. As for the exhaust, I do think the stock exhaust is the way to go. That way you get your nice quad exhausts, which are correct for the car. And of course the stock hood, not a carbon hood. When it comes to lights, I think I'm going to say xenon lights were really what was around at the time, and I'm sure that car probably had them. Your own choice of plate. So onto the respray. The prominent thing about this car was the side blades, the piece that runs all round here, and of course that piece was almost separate, and you could have it in a few different ways. The first is to have it in a silvery colour like the car on top there, or like down the bottom, carbon. That was a very popular option, and a rare option was nothing, body colour. So when it comes to this car, the secondary colour, as you can see here, is just a little bit of the side blade. Well, I've tried putting this as like black. I've tried putting it as one of the metals, you know, to represent the different side blades. But to me, it looked worse having it there than not having it there, because the whole of the rest of the blade is missing. So I do think it's better just to go primary and secondary as the same colour and just say, yeah, this is one of the cars with the body coloured side blade, which is totally okay. So in this case, primary and secondary are Torino red without any sort of pearl. Stock skirts for the same reason. Spoiler, I would generally say none, but some did come with the sort of plus spoiler. This spoiler here is very big, the plus spoiler, which is really nicely done on the 10F, by the way. My Decadium build is somewhere on the channel, and it's a build I really love. There's a Green Hell build as well for it, and they both, I think, use the plus spoiler that wraps just really tightly around here. So this spoiler's a bit much, and I was asked to do a build with a spoiler, so I will put it on one car, and you can see what you think. Suspension, to me, street looks about right on this car, gives it the right sort of stance. And for the wheels, I'm not going to change them between builds, because this style of wheel was on a lot of them. So I'm not necessarily going to go and match every single photograph. These are high five from the track, and they're really close to the wheels you'll see on some of the photos. So this makes a very simple first build, a nice red R8. Now, one of my requests was Nardo Grey, and I've used a crew colour for this from GTAcolours.com. I hope we'll have some daylight left to look at this. And then we'll put the secondary colour in as well. That's Nardo Grey. Now, inside, I think it looks just a little bit too blue or purple. There's just almost a touch to it of that. But you see, you get it out here in the sunshine. Doesn't that look really good? We're in the very late evening sun here, so obviously a slight orangey hue on the car. But that's Nardo Grey without any form of external spoiler. This was a request, and I think it looks really good. When these sort of greys came out 15 years ago, I kept making jokes about, you know, them looking like primer and why didn't they actually spray the car a colour. But it's a sort of immersion therapy. Over the years, I grew to dislike them less, and eventually, maybe we could call it Stockholm Syndrome. I like them now. I think this looks really cool. So there we are. One Nardo Grey 9F, and I think that's a very worthy way of storing it in your garage. It's easy to look up, by the way, what colours the car came with initially and match a few of them, but we're just going to do 3 or 4 today. The next request I was given was, could I do a yellow one with a spoiler? Now, if you go to gtacolors.com, there is a code for Vegas yellow, but as far as I can see, the yellow colours were used mainly on the sort of Mark II version of this car, the squarer edged one. And I found almost no photos that are worthwhile of an early version in yellow. I'm going to take the easy route. You could use that hex, but I'm just going to take the very easy route of popping one on straight from here, just so we can see what it looks like. We'll just take race yellow. Again, it's going to have to go on the secondary. And the request was to put a spoiler on. So there we are. The car I built, by the way, that you've just seen the photos for, is actually wrapped in yellow. Okay, it's not actually a yellow one of these cars. I say I could find very little that I felt went with the build objective. This looks pretty good. I will just say that, as I've said with the Coquette D5 builds, I think the race yellow is a little bit bright, and I think yellow is a bit too orangey. If you don't want the Vegas yellow crew colour from gtacolors.com, take my hex from either of the yellow D5 builds that I did. It's halfway between the two yellows, and I think works exceedingly well for a lot of these yellow cars to just be a little bit richer, a bit less bright. But anyway, I think this one looks really nice, but none of these three are how I'm going to choose to store the car. I'm going to do a colour that wasn't asked for. It's a crew colour, and I think it looks really, really special. So for me, it'll take, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes to get this all rebooted, but for you, it'll be instant. See you in a second. Oh, welcome back. I think I fell asleep while the game was rebooting. Okay. The primary and secondary is a metallic blue and a dark steel pearl. I think you're getting very close to Sepang blue for like no effort and no money. But let's get on with the colour I really wanted to paint this in to put it back in my workshop. This is a crew colour. You can see just from the little change here, it's going to be quite a pale blue. And the colour is Malibu blue. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous colour. It's one of those that when you put on the crew colour, you're not too sure, but then hit it with a sensible pearlescent, which in our case is something like surf blue. I can't remember if, I think they say nautical blue on gtacolors.com, but look how much surf blue lifts it. Diamond blue lifts it too much, so surf blue. But I say gtacolors.com is where the main colour came from. I think this one looks fantastic, and this is how I'm going to store the car for the foreseeable future. Okay, there was a quick edit to remove the spoiler I meant to take off, and of course I've got that mission going again for the sunlight. So here we are, the 9F as a Malibu blue Audi R8 with body coloured side blades. This is my final build. I think it looks really, really good. Anyway, so you've had a few colours, a few ideas there. There are, of course, other colours like, you know, black and white and so on that you can do that are easy to find photos of and very easy in the GTA palette. So please feel free to do any of those. I know I read in the comments somebody said I bought 3 9Fs. I'm looking forward to your builds. So hopefully you found 3 here that work for you. So I'll pop this back in its collection now, or we'll break too late. I hope you enjoyed this. If so, please click like, sub if you like real cars in GTA. Please remember you can't drive into most of the garages in a mission. I always forget this one. And thank you so much for watching.